Good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us. Today is April 26th, and we have our City of Los Angeles Certification Roadmap webinar starting up as part of our RAMP outreach, the Regional Alliance Marketplace for Procurement. We are recording the session. You will receive a copy of the presentation as well as the slides attached to it, so you can make reference as well. There's a lot of information that's being distributed. You will also see it in the chat. So any thoughts, any questions you may have, please drop them into the chat, and that will be distributed along with the recording and along with the presentation that we will be reviewing shortly. My name is Carlos Cordova. I work with Sherp Marketing Solutions. We've been working with the City of Los Angeles for the past year, helping the city disseminate information to the small and diverse business community regarding RAMP certification, and basically how the local small and diverse small business community can participate, compete, and have visibility with City of Los Angeles contract managers as well as with other entities. We'll have two guest speakers with us this morning. The first one is Shannon Hoppes. Shannon is the Chief Procurement Officer for the City of Los Angeles, and she has been instrumental for the past several years in getting RAMP off the ground, as it has been revamped and retooled based on the old LA Bavin City of LA procurement system. We also have Jack Ochoa. Jack is a small business consultant, very well known here in the city, and he will take us through the rest of the slides,
up and down,
covering how covering best practices for companies to become certified with the city as well as other entities. So with all that, please mute yourselves. Any questions, any thoughts you have, please put them in the chat. We're constantly monitoring it and providing answers. And with that, Shannon, I will turn it on to you for an introduction and welcome.
Thank you, Carlos. And it's great to see all of you this morning. Thank you for your participation. We are happy to be presenting this training or overview, certification overview to all of you today. We know that is something that is always a big question for small businesses is how do I get certified? Which certifications should I get? Where should I spend my time? And that is critical because the city acquires millions of dollars, $4.5 billion of products and services. And your certification sometimes comes into play as to how we identify the businesses we choose to or want to be able to reach. These contract opportunities, as Carlos mentioned, are posted on rampla.org. That is the platform where we advertise our procurement opportunities or our contracting opportunities, where we solicit or ask you to bid on the many things that we purchase, that we buy. So be sure to register your business in RAMP. That is really the first step. In RAMP, you're able to build a profile. So what that means is you're able to talk about your business. You're able to list all the things that make your business unique. And that may include your certification information. So that is a place that you can identify the type of business that you are, whether you're a small business or a contractor. You can list all the things that, again, make your business unique so that businesses that are looking for your particular business can find you. Really, the benefits of certification are that it lets the agencies that are on RAMP, so in addition to the City of LA, those that are also participating on RAMP, can find many of them. Christopher, oh, there you go. they can find you. So again, it is a way to create visibility for your business as well as market your business. So it may be something that your business wants to pursue, but Jack is going to give you kind of the world of certification and all the things that it can offer you. And we're happy to have you. And I will hand it over to Jack.
Thank you, Shannon. I really appreciate it. So hopefully everybody can hear me good. Can I get a yes from somebody? You guys can hear me good?
Yes.
We're good? Okay, cool.
Yes.
Yes.
All right,
Can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
awesome. All right. So we're gonna kind of go high level because I want to keep this as high level as possible. So you understand that at the end of the day, you're gonna learn that there are easy certifications and then there's complex. And what we're gonna show you is that there are easy certifications that the city of Los Angeles recognizes, and they're easy to do in under an hour. I hope you just heard what I just said, in under an hour. So with that said, we're going to start with this, right? The city of Los Angeles, based on contracting, not just the city, but even other regional partners of ours, like Long Beach, like Pasadena, the county, they also promote contracting with small business. So they're all promoting it. But one caveat that I want to be clear about, being certified is not a requirement by any agency, whether state, local, or federal. It's not a requirement to be certified to do business with them. So the same applies here in the city of Los Angeles. You don't have to be certified, or I want to also be clear about it because a lot of folks will get certified and think, okay, now I'm going to get a contract. It doesn't work like that. So you still have to market yourself, as Shannon mentioned, in order for the city to know who you are and what services you provide. So I want to be clear about that. That is not a requirement to do business with the city to get certified. Now, just so we're 100% clear also, is that not all certifications are recognized by each agency. So there are some certifications that folks will go out and get, like the federal certification, which can be complex, just to be fair. And the city only recognizes one of them, as notice I said recognize. So again, not all certifications are created equal. So just want to be clear that you have to really look at which ones can do an overarching one. And that's what I want to kind of look at. And that's why the one that I want to mention in a minute is the one from the state, because that one is overarching. And talk about not recognizing.
It will help because I don't have any of these in with the.
I'm sure that person keeps unmuting herself. So again,
Then
the state of California does not recognize
to
the
the back,
federal government. All right. So moving on to the next slide. So let's talk about the city of LA ones, because I want to make sure we're focused on this one, city of LA. So the city of LA has its own certifications they do, primarily minorities, women, disadvantaged business. Those are the ones the city of Los Angeles does itself. So those are the certifications the city of Los Angeles does. But I want you to notice the laundry list below it. Look at all the certifications the city of LA recognizes. It says, hey, I did my certification somewhere else. The city of Los Angeles will recognize that because they're like saying, hey, if you did all the work over here, state, metro, federal government, only one of federal government. So yeah, you're like, this is a long list. I mean, look at that. Disabled veteran, LGBT through the National Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce. You have a small business for recognized by the Port of LA, by LAWA or Los Angeles World Airport, DWP. You're like, hold on a minute. These guys recognize other ones? Yes, they do. You don't have to do the one with the city. You can go do the easier ones that take an hour to get this done. So you're like, let me think about this one. One's going to take me months and one's going to take an hour. Now, current record, because I actually seen it with my own eyes, there was a young lady that actually did the entire state of California certification in under 23 minutes. But this lady was prepared. I mean, she was just typing away. She happened to be a millennial, but she got done pretty fast. So then you look at this other one way at the bottom, because I want to point this one out. The Los Angeles has a local preference one. So you're like, cool, what is this? So this is also a city-based contract certification they do. But I want you to notice right there, it says Los Angeles County. So you can be in Pomona, you can be in Long Beach, you can be in Montebello, you can be in Beverly Hills, Santa Monica. It don't matter. The city of Los Angeles recognizes businesses within Los Angeles County. And you're like, cool, that's me, right? And so you're looking at it and going, okay, so what is this paperwork? So you can get this document through RAMP when you go to the certifications and you click a button that'll say local business enterprise. It'll have a form, you'll download the form. It's literally 3 pages, mostly words, by the way. 3 pages. You check a couple of boxes, you fill out your information, and you sign at the bottom. Quick note, I would recommend that you sign it in blue ink just to show that you actually signed it. Black ink, you can do it, but I recommend blue just to say, hey, I actually did this on my own, right? So I would recommend that you actually look at the form, you download it, you fill it out. Now, it does take a little time, much like the minority one, the woman one, the disadvantaged one, the city one does. It does take time. It just takes a little bit of time because somebody has to get through it. They have to review it. They have to look at your paperwork. So it is a little bit paperwork intensive, but you're like preference, 5%, 6%, depending on what contract it is or who it is. So, and also, by the way, some of the primes that are working at both DWP, the Port of LA, as well as Los Angeles World Airport, they are required to go find business certified in this category. And you're like, required to do outreach to this particular groups that are certified in this particular category? Something to think about. Something to think about, because that's what's going to get you in the door, right? And remember, it's always a good way to start to build your business and build capacity by becoming a sub first. So that was always a good way to start. Start as a sub and then build your business from there. So then let's go to the next slide here. So where does the process start for getting the one from the city? Well, you want to start with going to the Bureau of Contract Management. And so this is their email address. So if you have any questions specifically to their certification, it's right there. That's the email address. There's a group of people that actually have access to this email, and somebody on their team will get back to you. Now, I will be clear about it. The application process can take a little extra time, because if everybody signs up at the same time, can you imagine? It means the wait time is going to be huge. So what I would recommend is that you look at the ones that are recognized by somebody else. Like, okay, let me go do the one that the city recognizes, state of California, and then let me come back and just update my profile, and I'm done. So then look at it from that perspective, right? And again, the ones from the outside are recognized, so it goes faster. So that's what I want to kind of point out to you. I have a young lady I was talking to yesterday, specifically, she's been going through a certification with another party. She's been working on it for 6 months now. And then I talked to her about the state of California one. She actually sent me an email this morning and said that she finished it after my call at 5 o'clock with her. So she finished it in under an hour, according to her. So I'm like, that's nuts. And of course, she went on RAMP, registered on RAMP, made sure she checked the boxes that were appropriate for the certification she had. She now is in pending status to get certified with the city. Now, if you want to know more details about the programs in the city of LA, it's that link right there. And yes, you're going to get a copy of this deck. So don't worry about taking notes. You're going to get a copy of the recording as well as a copy of the notes. So you'll actually have access to that right there. So let's talk about recognition. recognition of other party certifications, okay? So look at the list. This is a long list of organizations that the city recognizes that your certification is done. Now, one acronym that's on there, and I know it seems a little weird, is the one that says CPUC. You're probably asking yourself, what is that? So it's the California Public Utility Commission. So that is a third party that will certify minorities, women, and other groups. Now, the city also recognizes the one from the CUCP. So that's the California Unified Contracting. So that's a different organization. But the one that everybody recognizes is Metro. So Metro, as well as Caltrans, it's the same thing, same application, same process. So the city of Los Angeles, if you do it with them and you're approved by those two agencies, the city of Los Angeles will recognize that certification. So you're like, I mean, I don't have to do multiple. No, you don't. So then you look at the veteran one. Yes, if you're certified by the Department of General Services, I hope you hear a theme here. If you're certified by the Department of General Services, the city of LA will recognize that one. For the LGBT, yes, but you have to be certified by the National Gay and Lesbian Chamber of Commerce. And then for the proprietary ones, they recognize 11 other agencies that have the certification. You're like, hello, why don't I just do the one that overarches all of them and call it a day? Again, I'm looking at how do we expedite the process? How do we get you in to play the game, right? You got to get in there and you have to show what your business does. Now, the one that's a little bit cool is the one toward the bottom, which is the harbor one. So if you happen to be in any one of the 5 counties in and around Los Angeles County, the harbor department, which is Los Angeles Port of LA, they recognize other counties. You're like, I'm in Orange County, or I'm in San Bernardino, or I'm in Riverside, or I'm in Ventura. You're like, that's considered local by the port? Sure, check that box. And a quick note, the Port of Los Angeles has a 25% goal for both small business and very small business. So you're like, a 25% goal for small business and very small business? Sounds like a place that I need to go do some work with, right? I'm just pointing it out. I'm pointing out the obvious. That will be one. And again, the California DGS certification is the one that gets you access to that one. So with that said, I'm going to go to the next slide. So I'm going to break this down. So I know it's a little bit of a it's a little bit of an eyeful, right? And I get that. So I want you to notice this chart right here. So you have the California Department of General Services, which you get your small business one, you can get your micro one, as well as your veteran one, and it's free. Let me say that again. Free, big capital letters, okay? California Public Utility Commission. You can get your women one, you can get your minority one. It's also free. I want you to notice, free. And that one takes about, we'll say about 2 hours to get that one done, if you happen to have the minority one. For the one for the Southern California Minority Council, that will get you your minority certification. Primarily, this one is for corporations, but the city does recognize it. Unfortunately or fortunately, they do charge a fee to get that certification, and it's an annual fee. We Bank West. So you want to get your women's certification, you can get that one there, but they also charge a fee, and it's an annual fee. In both of these situations here, they are primarily for corporations. So some corporations will specifically ask for these 2 certifications that must be achieved, but not everybody asks for these, primarily corporations. So I want to be clear about that. Federal government, if you're brave enough to do your federal certification, how can I say this? Politely incorrect or politically correct. Good luck. Because this one is like serious as a heart attack. This one is like a lot of work because it's the federal government. They require a lot. They want to make sure that you are in fact disadvantaged, minority, women, and it's owned by those specific folks. So because unfortunately back in the 70s and 80s, there was a lot of shady stuff going on and the federal government caught wind of it. And now all of a sudden they're a little bit tighter on this process right here. So just want to be clear that you want to watch out for this one. It takes a little more work, but if federal government is who your client is, then go do that one. But if the city of LA is, then go get the DGS one. Go get the California one, because that's going to help you get in the door faster. So hopefully that makes a little sense. So why this? And let's talk about the why. So think about it. You're going to get one certification that's going to do multiple things for you. So you're like, well, wait a minute. I'm going to get my California DGS certification as small, and now I can use it in the city. I can use it in the county, because yes, the county has a small business program. I can use it in Long Beach, because Long Beach is a small business program. I can use it in Pasadena, because Pasadena has one. And this little tiny school district called Los Angeles Unified School District also accepts your California small business certification. You're like, hello, let me go get that one done, because that's the one that's going to get me in fastest, right? So again, look at who your target is, who your client is, and obviously the city of LA wants you to do this. We encourage you to do it, because the more you do it, the more we can say, hey, look, we're actively pursuing small businesses to participate. So that's really where it stems from. You have to want to go through this process, so that if some federal dollars are coming down the pike, you're like, hey, well, how many certified small businesses do you guys have? And that's part of where you kind of now are helping the bigger cause. So look at it from that perspective, right? And again, a lot of big companies are looking for certified small businesses, or some organizations, corporations, like, and I'm going to pick on hospitals. You may not be aware of this, but if you're certified as a minority or as a woman-owned business or as a disabled veteran, this hospitals are not actively looking for certified businesses that happen to fall into those categories. You're like, wait a minute, the hospitals are getting into this? Yes, they are. So you're like, okay, everybody's getting into this. So that's where you need to look at it. How do you now get one certification and then use it multiple times? So that's where you got to look at. You got to just position yourself in a way for success. That's what I always recommend that, right? So with that said, you also want to start with your home agency, because the county where you're at is really where you want to start from. One quick note, because we're going to get into a little bit of tips and tricks on certification. So when you go do these two easy ones, right? I'm going to point these two out because they're the two easiest ones, the California DGS one. And yes, you're going to get the link to the exact website where you go get the certification done. You'll also have the one for the CPUC, the California Public Utility Commission. You're going to get the exact link to go get that done. And so then you also have the list later on, you're going to see a list of documents. So we're actually going to give you the checklist that you can actually use to go get this done. So with that said, let's talk about a few tips and tricks on the DGS one. So number one, you want to make sure you're using your physical address, no PO box. Again, remember the federal government PO box, you cannot use that. Virtual offices, not allowed. Don't want to do that because you're going to go into a tailspin on your application. So physical address. Number two, you'll see a point where I'll ask you about your username. I would recommend using all lowercase and then do not end it in a number. I'm giving you some tips. You'll see a section that'll talk about their UNSPC. That is similar to your NACE codes. So I'll be required to say, what do you do, right? These are my codes, this is the service I do. One word of caution. You want to keep it to about 5 or 10 of these so that it's very targeted on which ones you do, which ones you're going to get notifications about. I have seen people put up to like 100 of these, and then they get thousands of emails and they wonder why. So I would caution you on that. The last one is, you'll say statewide notification. Some folks will click that box just because it's there. You're like, well, I want to get notified by the entire state. You're looking at 50 plus counties in the entire state. You want to talk about your email getting blown up? That's what your email is going to get blown up. Or you can pick number 19, which happens to be LA County. And as a quick note, number 30 is Orange County. So yeah, you can get that done right there too. When you hit submit and you accept their terms, you'll now become a vendor for the state. So that's step number 1. So you're now a vendor for the state. You'll get an email from the state, and it'll say, hey, here's your temporary password. Quick note, cut and paste doesn't always work. And you have up to 3 tries before you get locked out and you have to reset your password again. So I would recommend write the password they give you and then go in and type it in manually. The next one is, okay, cool. Now I'm a vendor with the state. Now I want to get certified as a small business. Again, you're going to get the video as well as the notes here. So about a quarter way down, you're going to see a button that says no certification record. You're going to click on that box. You're going to go to the box a little bit further down. It's going to say get certified. You click on that box, and then you go click on the box that says small business. If you happen to be in public works, you want to click small business public works. If you happen to be a veteran, you want to click the disabled veteran one. But those are the 3 that I recommend. On the application, you want to be careful. There are a lot of double negative questions that are asked. They ask double negative questions to make sure you're reading them. So read them carefully, read them twice, because you technically could kind of almost negate yourself on the application if you're not reading it careful. So when you're reading the specific question they're asking, make sure you read them carefully because they're usually double negative. So a quick note on that one. Physical address. Make sure you're using the physical address of your business and not a virtual office and not a PO box, because it will ask you to ask that question. Is this address a PO box? So it's going to ask you that. So I'd recommend not use a PO box. You'll get to a section that'll talk about public works. If you're not in public works, the answers are no all the way down. If you are in public works, read these questions carefully. The next one is there'll be a section about employee count. So now, if you are a sole proprietor or you are a single member LLC, the answer is 0 because it's asking a payroll question. Unless you are an LLC and you actually have employees, then yes, you want to use the people that are on payroll. There are companies out there that are sole proprietors and have employees. So make sure you look at the payroll. This is a payroll question, so read it carefully. So the last section is about service area. You want to click yes, because you already picked them before. And then also for UNSPCs, you already picked them before, you hit yes. And then you get to the last button, which is about uploading documents. So on this particular application, it only requires about 5 documents. 5, not a lot. So you're like asking yourself, 5 documents versus 65 for some of the other ones. I want you to think about that. 65 versus 5. An hour versus months. I want you to just think about that from that perspective. So a last step is here is what do you do now? Okay, now you're certified, right? You want to come back. Sorry, I think I said too far. So you want to come back to RAMP that you've already registered, and then you come back here, and then you put this little button here. It'll say, hey, I want to get my certifications updated. You click on that button right there on the left, and you can actually add your certifications. It'll ask you for the number and which agency. So it's going to ask you for those 2 things. So the agency and what number. And then if you're brave enough to go do your higher level certifications, which again are your minority one, your LGBT, or your woman one, we are going to give you the checklist of documents that are required. I will ask you to take a deep breath when you actually look at the list, because it is a little intense, okay? But the required documents to prove that you are in fact minority-owned business, LGBT, or a woman-owned business. So those are required documents by these individual agencies. And again, I'll remind you that these three agencies do charge an annual fee. Next up is the other certifications that are out there. Federal government have their own. It's a really high level certification that you could get through the federal government. So they have federal certification you get through the DBE side. You can get 8A certification or Hub Zone. And then you can also get your women one through the SBA, but they actually will wrap you back around WeBank because WeBank is actually the agency that are going through to get the certification done. So now you're probably asking yourself, wow, what do I do? Where do I go? So the best place to go is there are resources available to you. So there are resources available, and there's a couple groups. I'm going to point them out. Sorry, this thing's going a little fast on me. So you have the business source centers that are out there. So the business source centers that are out there can help you. So they're actually no cost services for those businesses that are located within the city of Los Angeles. So what do? They have one-on-one consulting. They have entrepreneur training, access to capital. If you happen to look for employees, they actually have access to show you how to do that and how to achieve that. So these centers are here. This is basically, look at it as your tax dollar at work. So look at it from that perspective. You can go to these places and say, hey, I need some help. Hey, I want to get my business license. I need to do this. I want to do that. So as long as, especially if you're on the startup side, or even if you're further along, you can come back and say, hey, I need more help because my business is 2Xing and now I got to buy more equipment. So you can go to these folks and you actually show them what you've done. And who knows, they might be able to connect you to a large bank that can actually help you get funded. The other regional resources that are out there there's a few of them. So you have the Small Business Development Center. So, by the way, these are all funded by the federal government. So the SBA actually funds the Small Business Development Centers. So those are, again, your tax dollar at work, and you can be anywhere in the county. You also have SCORE LA. SCORE LA is a retired executive. That's usually who it was. Good resource. They are a little overwhelmed sometimes. They primarily focus on national, but they do help with local as well. You also have, again, the Bureau of Contract Administration. They're a great resource. So, and they do regular workshops on different topics. So if there's something you're like, hey, what is the next thing you guys are going to talk about? Hey, why not? You can even go there. And if it's specific related to certification, they do have teams, and there's an email right there. We can email them, say, hey, I have a question about the certification. It's stuck. Or, hey, I want somebody to review this or that. Now, of course, you have RAMP, right? So the regional resource, that's us, right? We're here to help. We're here to make sure that RAMP is here to support you, but no problem. So at the end of the day, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to click on this last section, is where does it start? It starts with registering on RAMP. So if you are not registered on RAMP, get it done. It's going to take you about 15 minutes. So get this done, register on RAMP. As you're going through it, there'll be a button that'll say, are you certified? If you're not, you scroll to the bottom and skip it. And then you can just come back to it once you complete your California DGF certification or your one with the CPUC if you have any minority women. So again, I would recommend that you start with that. So we're going to open it up to questions. Carlos, I know there's probably a ton of chat out.
Hey, Jack, thanks so much for that. Yeah, a couple questions that we'll kick you off with, and then we'll go through them as other ones come in through the chat. One of the questions is initially in the presentation deck, you discussed that some of the agencies, the city of LA provides recognition only. Can you clarify what it means by recognition only?
All right, so let me go back to that particular slide. I think that's a good slide to kind of stop at. So give me a second, I'm gonna go back right to it so I can use it as a reference point for everybody. I didn't realize it was that far up, but here it is. It's right. Sorry, I'm gonna get to the right slide so we're all talking about the same thing. There it is. All right, I'm gonna stop right here. So here's where we're at. So recognition. So the best way to look at this one right here is you go out and do your certification with the Southern California Minority Council, right? You decide that's the path I want to go down. You go do your minority certification there. The city of Los Angeles will recognize that you already did the work and getting certified somewhere else, because the city of Los Angeles is collaborating or recognizing that the work they're doing is solid. So look at it from that perspective. Is the city of LA saying, yeah, you know what? You've done your minority one over there. It's okay, you can come back over here and actually tell us that you did it. So they're okay with that. Metro, if you happen to do your DBE one or your small business one with Metro. Now, the city of LA knows that the Metro process is pretty tight. So they're going to be like, okay, we recognize that that certification requires a lot of work. So why not? You don't have to do double work. The city of Los Angeles will recognize that certification as gospel, saying, yeah, we recognize that the city, that Metro put that business through the certification. So for the small business one, again, I'm gonna say it again, the city of LA says, okay, you did your state one, you gave them all the paperwork that you are in fact certified. Cool. The city of Los Angeles will recognize that certification, much like the county of LA will recognize the state certification. LAUSD recognize the state certification. So I think that's what I'm telling you is there's no need to do double work. Is really, it's about recognition that the city's saying, yes, that certification is good and solid, so we can recognize that they already do. I hope that makes sense.
So just to clarify, Jack, when a company has received their certification by an entity such as State of California Department of General Services, DGS, the city will recognize that entity's certification without additional paperwork having to be submitted into the city. What was submitted
Correct.
to the State of California is sufficient.
That is correct, because you already did the paperwork with the state. So the city just says, hey, give us the number that you were assigned by the state.
Perfect, thank you. One more question. Does an entity need to be based in the city of Los Angeles to be enrolled in RAMP, or may it be in another county or outside of the state? Any restrictions?
There are no restrictions to be registered on RAMP. So you can be somewhere in LA County, you can be somewhere in another county in Southern California, you could be anywhere in the state, be anywhere in the country. I have yet to see somebody from outside the United States register, but I'm sure there is. I'm sure there's got to be some that are registered, because one of the questions in registration it'll ask is, are you within the US or outside the US? So that question is there for a reason. So I got to believe that there is probably other businesses that are in other countries that are registering on RAMP.
And a follow-up that I saw on the chat, if an entity has employees based out of the country, out of the US, should they be included in their in the details in registration, number of employees, for example, for certification?
Well, because those are going to be payroll questions that, depending on what agency is asking the question, that's what it's looking for. So it's looking for payroll. So payroll is going to be your driver. So if they're 1099 folks, they're independent contractors, those are not employees. Those are actually 1099. So you want to look at is payroll specific questions. So do they get a check from ADP? Do they get a check from one of the many companies that offer payroll services? It's a payroll specific question, and they will ask for a copy of the payroll record.
So taking a step back, you're discussing registration in RAMP, which by itself is not a certification, and
No.
separately, the issue of certification, whether it's with the state as a certifying agency or other agencies. Net, what is the benefit of a small business, let's say, obtaining certification, whether as a small business, whether as a women-owned or minority-owned or disabled veteran-owned? What are the benefits of certification?
So it's another way of looking at it to market yourself, right? So look at an opportunity to market your services to a larger pool, right? So some cities and some counties will have a goal. They'll say, okay, we want to include small business in this particular contract. So that is where a larger company will get points and or credit for using small business that are certified. So now they're now looking for more businesses that have actually gone through the process to either, depending on who it is. So again, if it's a city like the city of LA or a LADP that says, hey, we need people that are certified as small, and there'll be a goal associated with that. So then that's where the advantage will be there. But then you may have a hospital that'll say, hey, we need to have X number of percent of women-owned businesses. So that will be businesses that are certified by either the Southern California Minority Council, or excuse me, by WeBank for women-owned businesses, or by the CPUC, the California Public Utilities. So the advantage is that these corporations and or government agencies are actively seeking companies that are certified so that they can report it upwards to management, and or if there's federal dollars that are coming down, they can say, hey, this is how many businesses in our area are certified, so that they'll get more contract dollars coming their way, because then that's where leveraging the certification becomes key.
And if I can jump in as well. Hi, my name is Daniel Cho. I'm one of the managers here with the Office of Procurement. And thank you all for your questions. These are all definitely helpful for us to understand what the business community has in terms of questions regarding certifications. And we're trying to do our best in terms of answering all of these. But I just wanted to jump on quickly to answer Jan's question in terms of, as a small business, what do these certifications enable me to do? And Jack just covered, in terms of the marketing space, what are the benefits to them? Something else that the city does is the business inclusion program. I think Jack went over it during the presentation as well, but the city actually has a mandated good faith effort program that has a mandatory calculated outreach for prime contractors to reach out to these certified firms in our database, so that these smaller diverse firms have the opportunity to respond to subcontractor opportunities as well. So that is one benefit that getting certified actually has, a tangible benefit. Additionally, we have something called the Local Business Preference Program, relegated to the County of Los Angeles and city-specific Los Angeles vendors, that in the city, if you're a local business, you can actually receive a bid preference on a solicitation. So that is a city-specific program. And if we can actually have somebody from our team post the link to the LBPP page, that would be very helpful. You'll find more information on that there. But these certifications definitely are a way that you can market yourselves. And on top of that, just as a heads up, the Regional Alliance Marketplace for Procurement, just want to reiterate, is a public-private space. We also have private sector agencies that participate there and post their post their solicitations on our platform, and they are not actually bound to the same laws that we as a governmental agency are. And so they can actually specifically target minority and women businesses, because they might have a $50 million goal to utilize minority, women, small, whatever firms that whatever DEI goals that they may have. So that is another benefit to registering on RAMP. Once again, it's being able to market yourselves and let the business community know that you are out there as a certified, a diverse firm. And yeah, so just wanted to add that there as well.
Thank you, Daniel. Thanks for that added insight from the city. One of the questions also now, Jack, and I think it relates back to one of the comments you made regarding whether it's city entities, public organizations. What is the best way? What are some best practices that a small business, or again, women-owned disabled veteran, any type of small business can generate visibility for themselves once they're enrolled in RAMP or once they have certification.
So here's what I would say. And only because I've been looking at a lot of profiles on RAMP, there are companies that I know are certified by other entities and they don't have that in their profile. So you're like, well, wait a minute, what's going on? So there was a company I was talking to a couple days ago that I knew they were on RAMP. And I'm like, hey, you realize that your profile is not current. So they went and they looked and realized that the person who was actually the administrator on that contract, unfortunately, is no longer with the company. So they have to now get their email. They got to now get a new administrator to go onto RAMP, update their profile as to who is the administrator, and then put on RAMP a detailed description of what their business does, including the correct person for contracting, a website, with description of what they do, what certifications they have, including toward the bottom of the actual profile, there's an opportunity to actually promote what work you have done, what work you've done as a business, including and not limited to what work you've done for somebody else. So, and I'm going to give you this example, and maybe this might make sense. There was a young lady I was working with a couple of months ago, and she was the designer for the Lucas Museum. But she wasn't giving herself credit for being the designer to the Lucas Museum, but she had her own business now. So she's like, I technically can't do that. I'm like, who did the work? Well, I did, Jack. I'm like, okay, cool. Then go put it on your profile that you were the one working with this other company to do this work. She ended up picking up work from this little tiny airport called Los Angeles Airport. So you're like, hello, you need to market yourself. Use it as a way to brand yourself and market yourself to the various opportunities that come up on RAMP. So I think that's where you're going to need to do a little bit of marketing on your side in order to really justify all the work that you're doing and your business has done in the last, I don't know, 5 years, 10 years, however long you've been in business. Or even if you've been in business a couple of months or a couple of years, but you did work somewhere else and you decided, you know what, I don't want to do that anymore. I want to do it on my own. And that's okay, because it happens all the time.
Jack, one more thing. Could you touch on, as you mentioned, in terms of networking, one of the elements that you've mentioned and that businesses are urged to do as they register in RAMP is to make sure to include their NAICS codes. And every type of business out there will fall under an NAICS code generated by the government. The importance of NAICS codes so that businesses receive opportunities that are dedicated, tailored to the services they provide once opportunities show up on RAMP.
Right. So there is a way on RAMP where you can actually look at this as a research tool. So look at RAMP, not just a place to go register, to find out about opportunities that are coming. You can actually go on RAMP and go, let me find out for my industry, or I'm going to pay on catering. So what catering contracts have come up? So I can go in there and put in my NICS code and actually look up what contracts have already come up that already came and went. And now you're probably asking yourself, why would I want to know about those? Because those contract administrators are the same ones that are looking at future contracts. So you're like, maybe I need to let that buyer know that my business is here. I mean, and only because I've seen a business that I recognize on here that does dry cleaning. So you could go on there and say, hey, for dry cleaning services, has the city ever put out a solicitation for dry cleaning services? So yes, you can go in there and do some research, reach out to that buyer and say, hey, I'm a dry cleaning service and I'm right here in downtown LA. And I want to be a part of what you're doing. So that's where you get to now interact and figure out how do you get your name more well-known with the contract administrator, who, by the way, is probably the person in charge of that same trade, that same line for a long time. So they rotate them, but not as often as you may think. So what I would tell you is you need to start building a relationship with all of these folks. So remember this, Rome was not built in one day. The 6th Street Bridge that was just finished, it was not finished in one day. It took time. So look at it from the same perspective. You need to build a relationship with those contract administrators, with the buying public, with the buyers that are both city, county, state. You want to build a relationship depending on who your target is, so they can get to know you. So look at it from that perspective, that you really need some time to market yourself. That's all it is. You're on mute,
To share
Carlos.
with the group, this recording, as well as the chat session, as well as the presentation, will be distributed to everybody that registered. So you will receive an email with a link for you to download the presentation, as well as to access this PowerPoint and the chat session, which always seems to have a lot of the information that everybody has. Regarding any questions you may have regarding your registration in the RAMP platform, support@rampla.org is the shared email that the city has for follow-up. So in case you're having any issues in your registration, if you want to edit your company's information, you certainly can. Any other questions you may have, again, support@rampla.org is the place that you can go and access. We also put in the chat a couple of different nonprofit groups that are active here in Southern California. Their contact information is in the chat, and they can provide you with assistance with your small business efforts, your certification. They have a lot of mentoring, a lot of different virtual classes, a lot of Zoom meetings. Once you sign up with these groups, you will receive email invitations, and they're a tremendous resource for everybody. Jack also mentioned the Los Angeles Business Source Centers. These are 9 or 10 centers based here in the city of Los Angeles. So this is a city resource across the city from South Bay up into the North Valley. And they have small business counselors that can assist you, whether it's obtaining a City of LA business license or whether it's certification, growing your business. They offer all kinds of one-on-one support regarding finance, legal certifications, licenses, everything that relates to doing business with the City of LA. So definitely consider them a resource as well. So, and they are in the chat, and they will also be included in the PowerPoint presentation going out. Last point to make, there was also a link in the presentation that has, it will send you to a Dropbox folder. So you need to have your internet connection on, and you will be able to access some documents that include the documents that you will need for certification for each one of these different groups that you saw there. So whether it's the California Department of General Services, DGS, the California Public Utilities Commission, we've included a short list of the documentation that you will need for you to go ahead and process your certifications. So all of these elements are on the chat. You can certainly scroll back up, and it will also be made available to you within the next 24 hours. With that, Jack, unless you have any other comments, or Daniel, I'd like to thank everybody for joining us. Again, any thoughts, any questions you have regarding your certification or your registration in RAMP, please do reach out to support@rampla.org. We had a huge turnout for this session. We will also include, when we send out the meeting notes, we have a standing monthly review of how to register on RAMP. A lot of new businesses are joining in those calls just to learn a little bit more about the process and questions they have. So definitely utilize that. We will include a link to register for the next session, which will be towards the end of May. So Daniel and Jack, unless you have anything else, we will give everybody our thanks for joining us.
Yeah, my one comment is go get your DGS certification.
Very good. Thank you, Jack. Thank you, Daniel. And thank you, everybody, for joining us. Be on the lookout for a copy of the webinar, and it will go out to you within the next 24 hours. Thank you so much.